Give me a moment, everyone. Sorry, I'm still setting up, grabbing a little something to drink, a little coffee. If you guys want to get a little water, some refreshments for the moment, take the time. I'll be with you in about 2 minutes. I guess while I have you all waiting for a little bit, I will give you a little audio of an old episode of Plato's Allegory of the Cave. Um, I will get started shortly after.
A little bit of philosophy for a moment. One of Plato's great works is the Allegory of the Cave. I feel in order to really get down to understanding this political matrix and opening your mind to the possibility that things aren't exactly what they may seem or what you've always perceived them to be, you first have to have the ability to open your mind, I guess, absorb different information and take it in and weigh it out on your own without the constraints which you've been taught to have. Open your mind to that information. Then you can start to understand the philosophy which Plato was really speaking about and how it actually impacts the real world which we live in today. The Matrix did it in a cool, interesting way by having the main character be in a computerized dream world. That's not too far away from the real world that we're in. We are distracted by all different types of things, whether it's celebrities or movies or this or that. I'm not saying that these things are evil at all. I'm saying that when we are overloaded with too many things, we can only process a certain amount. And that becomes dangerous because if we're only processing things which are entertainment.
All right. Hello. Oh, sorry. Forgot to take off my mask. I went to a wedding earlier. Friend of mine's son got married, so had to go out and definitely show up and give them my well wishes. Let's see. I guess Chris will be. Let's see. Hold on 1 second. Hold on 1 second. All right, yeah. Sorry about that. Went to a wedding earlier. Girlfriend's already ready to go as soon as I start the show, of course. Instead of just leaving with me when I left. But yes, we're gonna go on ahead and we're gonna go on ahead and continue with the show. I see Signs is in the room. Thank you. We are going to talk a little bit about censorship. Let me know if the glare in the background, I see it's a little bright. So let me know, and I can actually, let me just scoot back a little. Hopefully that's a little bit better. Um, yeah, so we're going to talk a little bit about censorship, and then tonight was going to be open for any questions. Um, hopefully with it, hopefully not too crazy. But any questions that you all had for me tonight, and I said, you know, pretty much everything is fair game. I won't go too much into anything personal about family members, but anything you guys want to ask me is perfectly fine. Without further ado, I guess we'll start the show. This is the Political Matrix. I am your host, Young Morpheus, and tonight we're going to talk about censorship. Um, as we all know, that's been the major buzz that's been going on. Many uh, platforms, especially left-leaning platforms. Some not even left-leaning. Some just kind of in the middle. And the common thread I've seen is anybody who is speaking any kind of a counter narrative, um, whether it's in regard to the, hold on a second, I see Emmanuel.
All right. What's
Hey,
up?
Emmanuel, how are you doing, brother?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I was just starting in on this on our main topic. Later on, I said that I'll leave it open for if they wanted to get questions for me, or if they want to, question you or Chris, and we'll go into, try to give them some answers so they can get to know us a little bit better. Um, I definitely want to talk very much about the censorship thing, especially we had our video, our live stream dropped not that long ago, and then almost the day after we heard of what was it, Frank Analysis. He started having issues, and then right after that he got demonetized along with a lot of the other like Nico House.
Mhm.
Let's see, Jamal. Was it Thomas? I get the last name mixed up because being a Chiefs fan, we had Charles. We had a Jamal Charles here, so it gets a little confusing with the names. But from the progressive soapbox, and then you go down the list. Richard Medhurst, I believe that he had already got demonetized probably a week or so before. And then you just go down the list, Jordan Sheridan. And Jordan Sheridan was one of the people who
Oh, I love Jordan Sheridan. Jordan Sheridan's
yeah,
fun.
I'm a big fan of Jordan also, but he was more in the camp of, well, I think you guys are
A little crazy.
being, yeah, you guys are kind of being a little bit uh a little bit paranoid. That
Mhm.
it's more that they're taking down right wingers who are just getting too crazy, and that's what it often gets blanketed as. I see Kelly is in the chat. Hello, Kelly. But the one thing which I we heard this not too long ago, and I really wish I would have had the clip ready or had Chris here so he could pull it up. But remember that clip not that long ago on CNN where you had somebody from Silicon Valley. I can't remember his name, but he talked about how they dealt with so-called Islamic extremists and them recruiting and messaging and things like that online.
Mhm.
And what he started going into was that we're going to maybe have to use that approach domestically. And this maybe was maybe 3 months ago, I guess, maybe 2 months. I don't know. Time is kind of getting a little crazy how the election stuff has been. And with COVID, everything gets a little out of whack. But he was talking specifically about, okay, these right wing groups. And then he started going into racist groups. And then he slipped right in there, you know, uh, ideals and parties and political and religious views that are outside, and we need to start cracking down on all of these different people. And then what you see slowly but surely, you start seeing more and more enforcement. I mean, Facebook. I hardly put too much on Facebook except for I will put the live stream through there, but Facebook I've already seen as far as whatever you post it's already, you know, been highly scrutinized. And then Twitter, we've definitely seen lately how it's ratcheted up quite a bit more. I've noticed like people have a comment that says, "Great job, Marcus," and then for some reason it'll say that little warning, offensive, possible offensive content.
I
When you
haven't seen
click on it,
it.
I get it through mine like crazy. And
No,
every time
what
I
happens with
want
me is that someone will reply to something that I said, and I
to,
won't get any notification of it at all, like none. And then I will have to backtrack or scroll through my thread and see, oh, hey, you know, um, Sarcasm Stardust said something and I didn't even see it, and then it mystically pops up like maybe like 30 seconds after I've done the actual search myself into the thread. So, you know, we were warning about that, you know, when we first heard about the Capitol being hit, and then everybody was getting, and then the right wingers were getting monetized. I was like, it's only a matter of time before they come after us. So,
and we've been talking about it here.
yeah,
I mean,
we did, we spoke about it avidly, and I thought it was just merely going to be about, you know, Biden's part in the election, where they were, since, you know, we even spoke about that, where they were censoring discussion about the election and anything that happened, and if you had an alternate theory or whatever, you couldn't even field those questions, and they were warning about suppressing those explanations as well. So it was always there. It was always happening, and now it just seems to be getting like a lot worse. Um, Six Throne got pulled off. He came back. He's agitating some people. He's probably gonna turn around and get banned all over again. I got another person I follow on Twitter. It happened like numerous. She had been banned like 4 or 5, 6, 7 times, and she kept coming back. And then they finally, you know, just kind of gave up on her. But I expect that this is Miss Jules I'm talking about. She's gonna get banned again. I would suspect probably before the year is out, because she goes too far, and I love it, but it just seems to be this concurrent thing. And I really did want to hear your honest take about what happened, because of course you were surprised and I was surprised and we were all surprised that it did technically happen. And then we can't talk about it, but there's a lot of stuff that Chris was feeling where he more or less was pretty much accurate on what it, because now we got banned, and then they said why we got banned. See, that's the thing. They said why we got banned, and I wasn't really looking into why we got banned. But once you heard the explanation, and then you started really looking into it and really looking into what we got banned for, you can see definitely that something's not right.
yeah, because when I laid out the fact of, we didn't even give our opinions on anything exactly when it got on the topic of dealing with COVID, except for that personally, I am not going to do X, Y, or Z. You know, it was never any point where I told anybody, hey, you don't go and do this. I said, hey, I don't trust this. And I feel like that's within our constitution, right? And, you know, to make our own decisions. And we also should be able to say what we want to say. My big problem that I see with the whole issue is, when I was all in the, you know, when I was in my kind of what more patriotic days and more gun ho military, I honestly felt like part of what we were doing in the military was fighting so people could have their freedoms, even if we disagreed. And even if I felt like some of the stuff they were saying was, you know, way a little bit too far. For instance, and it's kind of sad to say I'm from the same state as them, but the I think it's Westboro Baptist Church. They're the ones that you should show up at all the funerals of veterans who die and say, well, you all died because America is yeah, because America allows abortion and America has homosexuality, and so you guys are dying because of that. And I disagree with him completely, and it was extremely offensive. And don't think I didn't get mad enough where I wanted to confront those people, you know. And if things got crazy enough, I wouldn't have had a problem throwing hands with those people in that time period, you know. But I still believed it was their right to be able to say whatever they wanted to, no matter how wrong I felt they were. And it's up to us as adults to be able to have the discretion on what we're going to follow, what we're going to decide to do, that we should have like a buffet of information and let us sift through it on our own. We don't need a government entity telling us, well, you don't even need to see this information to check to see if you see any credibility. We're just going to decide for you what is credible and what's not credible. And I look at it as just on the simply looking at it, there's a conflict of interest because, yes, you're definitely not going to want to tell me things that you want to hide. And governments have plenty of things they admit to you that they do not tell you. So if we have an entity which is telling me, I don't even want to tell you everything, and you're telling me that you're going to decide when I know for a fact that you are hiding things that make you look bad, but we're supposed to just trust that you're going to give us straightforward, honest information, and that you're the one that should be trusted, and everybody else is nonsense. I mean, what do you think?
I mean, it's funny that you brought up, your time in the military. I meant to ask you what your perspective was on the military doing like a 1-day hold on all military operations to root out extremism, right? The government is justifying it as extremism when, given your time in the military, I know what extremism you particularly have seen serving in the military yourself and what extremism is really the problem. But for them to blanket extremism as a general term,
Mm-hmm.
that when especially when our government justifies something as a general term, we know what they're talking about, but they're going to go after everybody else except the specific group that they're speaking of.
Mm-hmm.
They justify it as Islamic extremism or Black extremism. Well, at least they know they have a viable target. But if they justify it as general extremism, they literally mean, oh, any extremism, but the extremism that's actually the extremism, that's the problem.
Uh-huh. Exactly. They focus so much on if they see 10 people of Arab descent who have a couple of angry tweets, that's all of a sudden, the ISIS cell that's going to take down New York City. But for decade after decade after decade, we can have, skinheads and all that just walking openly about and hardly get any scrutiny. And it's like, even now, when they're wanting to crack down on all these other groups, there's still a soft hand to people who are sympathetic to the KKK, Nazi, whatever groups, extremist groups out there from our government. And it's like, these people have used violence, advocate violence, and encourage others to do violence. But you guys take a soft, tepid approach. Oh, this is a case by case with these people. But then when it comes to any other group, if there's one bad that you see, all of them are bad. Just for instance, like with the whole Antifa thing, everybody's freaking out about, oh, I saw a couple of Antifa videos of them teaching people fighting techniques and handing out bats and things like that and showing them commit violence. Yeah, but there's a lot of people who identify with anti-fascists who are not violent, who are not wearing all black and listening to rave or punk music. I mean, there's many levels to most schools of thought, and I feel like the government does a real good job at not, I guess, conveniently not wanting to understand one group while giving a pass to the other group.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I saw we had a comment there for the panel, so I'll open that question up for you to read. Um,
Sure.
Sign said, someone is worth their Twitter, Facebook, etc., while the 30% of these companies are losing out on. Do you think the CA1 and controlling?
I like where he's talking in code. That was what Chris was
Mhm.
saying. We're talking in code.
Oh yeah. Well, we can talk code with Signs. Signs knows what's going on, and we're all in the loop. And we realize in this day and age, we are probably going to have to start speaking a little bit more coded. Because it almost seems like, well, and here's another thing which you get with most of the time when you get these bans or whatever they decide that your channel is done, it's normally very vague. Or they'll tell some of these people, oh, you can get your monetization back if you take down videos with this content.
Mm-hmm.
It'll say anything that's offensive content. And it's like, well, how am I supposed to determine what you consider offensive to take down? And if you have thousands and thousands of videos, how long would that take for you to even go through rewatching every video and trying to figure out what somebody would find offensive in each one? I mean, it's ridiculous. They could easily say, you know what? We've deemed all of these as ones that need to be taken away. Okay, how about we meet you in the middle? Even though we still feel like they're keeping the hand on our neck or boot on our neck. If they say, all right, well, we will delete these and then you get your monetization back and don't do any more content like that. That at least is giving some kind of an option. But the fact that they're not giving that option leads me to believe that they just want to find ways to get rid of these channels. And they don't even want them to actually really reapply and be able to put out that content. They just want that message gone.
Right. Because if you give them a standard, if you give them a bar they can limbo under, well, then what can you do? You can exploit moving under the limbo bar however you want. I mean, as long as I move under the limbo bar, I can do this, I can do this, I can do that, I can move here, I can move there, right? If you give them a standard if you give them a little wiggle room, well, then most people, and especially smart people, they will find a way to manipulate it and they will find a way to exploit it. So that vague answer that they give is in a way their own code. It is their way of saying, we don't really want you to do it at all, so that's why we're not going to give it to you. I would even go so far as to say, I think it was like a day after, maybe a couple of days after that happened to us, every single time we spoke on the issue that we were banned for, there would be someone that came in and threw up, like, I guess, a dissenting agreement, but it really wouldn't go anywhere. It was more like, I guess I've been seeing it more often. It's more like circular logic. It's more like, I'm just doing this to frustrate and confuse you. I'm not really interested in having a real kind of direct dialogue with you about what's going on, right? Like, I don't really care what you think. I'm just here to frustrate and confuse you enough so that you'll stop talking about it.
Well, remember the theory which I had from last week. I got a little bit more elaboration on it. Those who out there, they'll know who I'm speaking about. Hopefully, if not, message us and we'll clarify. I don't really want to say it on the stream, but there was an elected official who put out I guess a newsletter or email, some form of communication for their supporters, hint, wink, wink, to go after any content with them in it that was tagging them, that supposedly looked negative, or that was attacking.
Was that like? Wait,
we won't say the name.
I don't mean to interrupt you. Did you bring it up last week, or did it happen just this week? Because I think I know who.
No, Nico elaborated on it. He
Okay.
went into it as he was
I know
explaining
exactly the
how.
elected official that you are speaking of because
Mhm.
they assumed that this elected official was lying about what the elected official was talking about. And she, I mean, said person put out um, a flyer basically saying, I need you to become, I guess, I need you to become my eyes and ears, basically.
Mhm.
That's what they subtly implied. So I think the fact that Twitter didn't come in and just do like a Thanos finger snap across like the whole everyone getting this elected official riled and upset means that there was probably some credence into why said individual was doing this, right? So there was probably some basis in truth as to why it was happening. Because as we've seen, right, if there wasn't any proof behind what the elected official was accused of, right, because we can't bring it up, right?
Mhm.
There wasn't any proof that it was wrong. Twitter just would have wiped it all clean, right? Just would have just cleaned the earth of it. So the fact that they didn't, and now said elected official is back on policy matters, not
Actually,
on.
Emmanuel, can you keep going real quick? I will be right back.
Now that said official is going back on policy matters, not really focused on the previous issue, it doesn't really help her case very much. So, I mean, their case very much. So, but I think everybody knows, right? See, YouTube, do you? All right, I'm going to field science question. YouTube, do you, Emmanuel, Marcus, think they use homonym aware symbols sparingly? We're talking reverse Illuminati stuff. See, Marcus would know that more than me. I really couldn't tell you. Let's see. One of my favorite headlines was when Westboro protested a Lady Gaga concert, and she sent all her gay dancers out there to dance around the protest.
I heard an Illuminati question.
The Illuminati question. Well, you can bring it up. It's a science question.
Oh, what was the question? Let
You
me
want me
see.
to read it out? You want me to read it out?
Yeah, go ahead and read it for me.
Okay. It's YouTube. Do you, Emmanuel Marcus, think they use homonym aware symbols / spelling? We're talking reverse Illuminati stuff, I guess.
Yes, they do. But I think a lot of people focus too much on trying to interpret the symbolism because there's so much and it's so complex and it takes a lot of studying to understand it. If you want to get more into understanding some of that stuff, I would definitely advise you to listen to Larry Johnson podcast. He's really big into understanding a lot of that stuff. Um, in simply what it is they use a lot of that stuff to communicate to people out in the open. It's kind of like a little funny. It's kind of like having an inside joke, and so they kind of have like their own little inside jokes which they send across. None of the stuff which they're actually putting out is going to be any, I believe, significant messages, just because if somebody was able to intercept it and figure it out, they wouldn't want that to be uncovered so easily. So that stuff, they still have, private phones and all kind of other ways to get that information across. And also they have their meetings, whether it's Bilderberg or trying to remember what that one is in DC. It's like what Council of Rome or something like that. I can't remember, but it's a couple of organizations which are in DC where they can just literally go into those buildings. Nobody's allowed into them. I'm pretty sure that they have soundproofed it and checked for every bug that you can try to sneak in or microphone. So I don't think you're going to get any, concrete things to go on by focusing that road. I say just look at what the overall movements that you see going on around you. If you see things start happening that just look a little shaky, start seeing if it has ties to other things that are going on. For instance, if you see a new trend starting in one place and in another place and another place, yeah, that's a good way to see how they're moving. Let's see, what else do we got there? Because I saw one other one. Oh, about the Westboro Lady Gaga. Yeah, she sent her dancers out there. I remember that because there was a lot of news coverage back then about that one story, and that kind of struck me as a little odd. And I started noticing that if you look deep enough between, big stories, a lot of times there's more, I'd say, more important stories which are often missed. And whether it's coincidental or whether it's intentional, it's happening. So maybe the issue could be an issue which I believe is an important issue, which maybe others might not feel as an important issue. I'll give an example of a story which I know that kind of got buried behind, some sensationalism going on in the news. Um, Ooh, don't say that one. There was one I was gonna say. This one's a little too, but I'm gonna leave that one alone. I'll go back a little bit further away from things, so it keeps me a little bit more in the safer zone. There was a hostage exchange which took place between two countries. I will leave unsaid for the time being. Um, at the same time that this news story was going on, that situation went down, and it went down not very good by the country which was trying to get those people back. And so instead of having egg on your face that you didn't work it out, it's easier for the media to just keep talking about a silly story that's going on. Not saying that, whichever fighting for different causes and rights is a silly thing, but I'm saying sometimes they will prioritize certain pop culture stories because it's Lady Gaga, whereas they might not have cared if it would have been just an average LGBTQ group who was out there, or it might have gotten a headline or two, but you wouldn't have heard about it over and over and over across every newspaper for a good week straight. That's I often find those kind of things to be weird coincidence. How a celebrity will have, something happen politically, and the news will just salivate over all of that and just ignore everything. Now, part of it could be just me not trusting the system as a whole. Part of it could be that some of these people, because of their, I don't want to say their upbringings, but because of maybe their social status where they are, they're at they're at a level where they're not dealing with certain pressures and focus to look at other issues. For instance, say, I'll give you a good example. When I was in high school, we had a lot of students from what would it be? Kosovo, Bosnia, and Croatia, which came over, and Albanians, which came over as refugees when the whole war was going over there with Milosevic. Well, because we were able to, I guess, I was able to have more proximity to people who were going through that war directly, having family members that they were losing, and that stories of where they escaped persecution and things like that. It stuck with me a little bit more to care more about this nation's plight, whereas many other people I knew, it's just a story on the news. And so I'm saying that maybe it can be an unconscious thing, an unconscious bias, which some of these people have, that they're not around these people. They haven't traveled to other countries, so they don't have this kind of concern that I might have for other people in impoverished countries and in nations or being oppressed. One of my favorite quotes, which I still live by, is an injustice anywhere is an injustice everywhere. You know, so for me, I don't care if it's in the U.S. or if it's in India or Russia or where it is or who it's going through. I feel like it's my job, you know, in doing this to try to inform people about these different stories that get smothered out because they want to talk about Anna Nicole Smith for 3 weeks straight. And
Yeah, I
which,
was wondering. I noticed that Anna Nicole Smith, and this, I guess this is with the work we do now, because I
Mhm,
hear stuff like Anna Nicole Smith, Ti, Army Hammer, right?
mhm.
They just seem to be coming out. They just seem to be coming out like shots, like they're just looking to they're just itching to distract you from something, and I'm just like, what are? And I'm like looking at all of them, and I'm just like, what are they distracting you from? Reading up on all of those issues. I think one of them I saw on a magazine. I think it was like a couple of weeks ago or something like that, and he was trying to defend himself. And I was like, well, now I think, what's the bigger picture? What am I missing? What is the bigger issue that is happening in the background while I care about while I'm looking at whatever that celebrity is going through on like the cover of like In Touch or People magazine. So
Mhm.
right.
Well, it's somewhere along the line where a lot of, I mean, some people can put this on me, and you know what? I will put this out there to give a little disclaimer and give some help for those who might want to attack me later. You know what? I watched a lot of movies as a kid, pop culture. Now, I did read a lot about history and did a lot of studying on a bunch of different things: science, biology, human development, psychology, all kind of different things. Studying micro expressions, whatever. I studied a lot of different things. But I did watch a lot of TV and a lot of movies. And as a kid, it was just kind of entertainment. And then as I started to think about it from a psychological standpoint, what I realized is whoever is making this movie and editing this movie, the perspectives of the characters we're seeing are coming from the perspectives of those writers, right?
Hmm.
So, whatever environment that these people who wrote this script come from, they're going to have certain biases and certain natural prejudice that they're not going to see. Um, if you look in Hollywood, a lot of the writers and directors for major big budget pictures, a lot of them come from upper middle class to, you know, somewhat wealthy beginnings. If you're not dealing with a lot of that impoverishment and your lens is seeing a certain community as criminals because that's what you see on TV, then when you write a script, you're going to use those same stereotypes when you write these people that you're not familiar with. And that pervades and pervades and pervades throughout Hollywood and throughout just our news in general. And I feel like that across the board makes those people say, well, I don't have anybody that I see that's being afflicted around me. Oh, there's Kim Kardashian who, oh, that's the only person I see that's really going through any problems. Her and Kanye are breaking up. Oh, so sad. And
And
it's
all they did was
because,
they just use it as fodder for their last season or whatever in their reality show. I mean, that whole thing would just be one last bang.
well, and what
Um,
I'm saying is, our so many of our people have focused so much on looking at things from their own lens and have a hard time stepping out and looking at other lens. And I guess what I was going to say on the movie point before, you know, my sporadic mind jumped to something else. Um, on the movie point, overall, what I was getting to is that most of these people, they come from a certain perspective. And these same people who are running movies and running TV production companies who decide this story is more important than that story, some of the biasness could be just out of you just don't have these experiences, so you're just not wired to see it that way. That's one psychological way I can look at it. Now, granted, it's still working in a negative conspiracy, in a way where you almost don't even realize that you're doing certain things. Like you've been trained to think a certain way about people and about society, and you're pushing that message back out. And because of the platform you're on, you're basically the useful idiot or compromised in manipulating even more people. And I feel like not only is that through our news, through our movies, through our music, it's also through our politics, also, and our politicians. And when you factor in the way our, I guess, modern day news coverage is, it's covering politicians as if they're celebrities, not like they're actual people who are there to work on concrete things to make this a better nation. And I feel like that I mean, some of us say, oh well, they're all in it to go against us, and to a certain degree they would be, even if they're not conscious of it sometimes. And I feel like that's part of the biggest problem that we're fighting with a lot of the censorship and in general. You have a bunch of people who have been programmed to think a certain way, who have dominance over you to control the message. And since they have the power to do it, whether they're right or wrong in their theories, because they're so hard pressed on it because it's been drilled into them, they are automatically not even going to listen to anything from the other side. And it's gotten to this point where I realize a lot of those people are actually, I guess what would we call it, I guess like many authoritarians. I mean, if you think about it, these same very liberals who say they love all these causes are the same ones which you'll work for and be one of the worst bosses to have. They're the same ones which will turn around and be that Karen in the store causing all the hell. They'll be that same one that, will cut you off for a parking spot. You know what I'm saying? A lot of these people, they put on this facade of how they care and what they want to do and all these things. But on the inside, if they don't agree with you, their goal is you need to be silenced, you need to be shut up. You're the problem. You are a problem. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm. I think there's one movie that's I'll just use this one movie as an example. I won't name any actual names, but the movie has gotten a lot of crap and a lot of garbage, and the community that I speak on behalf of is upset that they got Golden Globe nominations. Now, why is a movie, so universally hated by the specific group that doesn't really, care anything about them? Why are they getting Golden Globe Award nominations? And I'm just like, that's probably for a variety of reasons. I mean, the person who created said movie has shown exactly the opinion, the energy that Marcus is talking about. They don't really care. They're not really apologizing. They don't really feel bad. They deleted their Twitter, right? But they're glorifying the fact that they got nominated on like a completely different social platform. So when you operate in the bubble that Marcus is talking about, um, you do tend to see a lot of people like that, where they have a perspective and they mean well, but they don't really feel very interested in being like really informed or even really listening to what's going
Mhm.
on, really taking their insights. The
You see, you see that, Emmanuel?
what the Sarajevo U.S. Please help the.
And then that's what I'm talking about. The government will ignore us, will ignore these people, and then it the news will convince everybody that it's okay to ignore these people. And then the rest of the population is just like, oh well, America's not going to do anything, and we just kind of accept it. Um, I see a question that says, "What movie tell us?" Ooh, just rewatched Lethal Weapon 2. Just rewatched Lethal Weapon 2. Sad to see how racist the writing was in late 80s and
Oh
considering
yeah, Lethal
who
Weapon.
Mel Gibson was. LOL. Well, you got to remember another thing. It's not even only Mel Gibson, because you got to remember these movies have to go to somebody to get financed. These movies have to go to somebody to get all of this stuff set up, and whoever that executive producer is signed off on all this stuff, had no problem with it. And I say, if you look back even to the movie Birth of a Nation, I'll let you guys do your own hunt through that guy's background. But the studio head who greenlighted that project and put all that money behind a movie glorifying the KKK, I mean, at a certain point, you have to see that some of the messaging coming from, you know, the top. And I consider movies included in this because a lot of our thinking and the way we view the world is shaped through, movies, actually. We don't think about it. How many times are we sitting there having a good time and we quote some line just
Mhm.
out of fun, yippee ki yay, and or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And so there's it, it's completely understated how much whatever you view starts to kind of start to mold your thinking and start to guide you. I'm not saying that it necessarily brainwashes you completely. Well, some stuff can, but it can start to guide you to look in a different direction and start to think about things in a different perspective. For instance, if you sat in a room with somebody who all they were an expert on comedies and all they watched were comedies, and they sat there and told you about all these great comedy movies, and you guys were having a great conversation about comedies, and then after that conversation for a couple of hours, they say, no, now what's the best genre? Comedy, right? Well, it would be hard to argue, that something else is better because you've been flooded with so much information, that leans a biased direction, and then you have somebody who else could come in that room and talk for the same time about drama, and you're like, oh, wait a minute, hold on, now I got to think about it, and so when you take away the whole other side of the discussion and you're only being given one perspective, you're not thinking about all the other different ways that that discussion goes. And so I feel like that's what one thing we try to do here to get everybody to stop thinking in the direction you're always being pushed into. If you see a commercial saying go out and get, I won't say a brand name, I don't want them to come after us. Let's make up a name. Zebra Cola. And you keep seeing Zebra Cola commercials. They're like, you know what? I'm not gonna go get a Zebra Cola. I'm gonna get a horsey cola instead. Sometimes just do the opposite just because they're telling you. I mean, sometimes they're not you're being pushed in different directions, and sometimes just try to fight away from that urge, and sometimes they are guiding you in good direction. So I'm not saying always just be against everything to be against everything, but use a little bit more discernment. When a lot of times we just kind of go in the area that we're nudged and don't realize maybe that's not the direction we should go into. um let's see, what is it? Yeah, Birth of a Nation does go way back, Kelly, and I could go into so many more movies after Birth of a Nation, which I felt like helped formulated a lot of the racist behavior in America, and really pushed the Klan, and also the Jim Crow laws. Because if you're telling people that, yeah, these people are going to rape and murder and kill you, and you're showing movies of that over and over, and they have no encounter or very little encounter with these people, when they start seeing more of these people, they already have it formed in their mind that this person is an enemy. And I feel like I see the same narrative going from certain publications. I won't say right or left, but certain publications which will say, oh, well, immigrants coming in. Oh, you got to watch the immigrants. And they start telling you all these things about the immigrants. And then when the immigrants get there, now you already have all these negative feelings towards them without having the other side of the coin to hear, well, this person might have been going through this. Well, this person's not a bad person. Well, maybe this person you heard was a bad person. these were all these scenarios that they were in. So you're not given the proper context a lot of times to be able to view these things, and it's done for a reason. I'm not saying that the news necessarily always lies. I'm just saying that sometimes it's easier for them to just give you the truth at 3 a.m. on a Saturday morning and keep it moving. And then, because I've watched plenty of times where you'll have um, anybody on any of the major channels and they will talk about something. When they screw up, they will come back and admit they screwed up. But most of the time, that apology and that revision is like a chyron that goes at the bottom, or they hop on and say, hey, we screwed up on this story. This is actual information, blah, 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 blah. And they're done with it in like 30 seconds. And then they move on to the next story. But they've already spent a whole week putting an image in your head and a story in your head, you know, priming you to think a certain way. And so that little 30-second, oh, well, we screwed up. Even if you see it a lot of times, it's easier to still remember that other information before affecting you than that 30-second clip. And psychology completely proves that's what goes on. And when you go back into like Sigmund Freud and you go back to his nephew, I'm forgetting his first, I think it was something Bernstein or whatever. Well, I don't know. You guys remember, I did a show about him not that long ago. But he was able to understand how most human beings react on emotions and how repetition works in driving a narrative. Even if it's not necessarily, I mean, think about how many times that we hear a song. The first time we hear that song, we don't like it. Can't stand the song. Let it be about 6 months later after the song has been playing every hour on the radio stations. And next thing you know, you start off, you're humming it for a little while, then you're saying a couple of words, and now you like the song. And it's not that you necessarily love the song, it's that repetition softened you to it. I mean, it's the same thing which you see sometimes. I've seen in relationships where they'll be all goo-goo about somebody, and then that fades away. And it's because we were around for a little while, you're starting to get, this image. And then when you're around a little bit more, that image changes. You get what I'm saying?
Right. What's the best example I've seen this week? The 1400 versus the 1400 versus 2000. Perfect example. That's what everybody keeps talking about. That's what the narrative focuses on, the concept of 1400 versus 2000. You hear that constantly, 1400 versus 2000, 1400 versus 2000. So now you're fighting in the camp of which one is it going to be, instead of taking a step back and saying, does that really fix the fact that the poor lost $3.9 trillion? Does it really fix the fact that in 9 months the rich had basically gotten all of their money back that they supposedly lost, and within like 9 months, you're literally sitting here arguing over when you get your crumbs. Meanwhile, the rich are just watching you like two hobos fighting over a ham sandwich. So
now you get it, my man. You see it completely, because this is what they're doing. Whatever they get, whether it's the 1400 or they get you the 2000, now they're going to turn around and be able to say, look what we got you. And you know what you're going to do? Most of you out there, I'm not saying my audience, they know better, but I'm saying most of you out there, what you're going to do is you're going to be like, hey, man, they got us something. And you're going to completely forget about all this money that they gave away. And so what it does is, even if you do kind of remember, it's going to soften you. And then a little bit more soften, a little bit more soften, and you forget about it till the next time they do it again. And what they learn how to do is, we know this is going to piss them off. How do we manage their anger?
Mm-hmm.
How do we manage their anger? How do we calm them back down? So what we'll do is we'll toss a little bit of money at them. In fact, no, we won't toss the money at them right away. What we'll do is we'll fight. We'll fight about it. And we got to make somebody the enemy. And then we're going to be the hero over here. And then when we fight and fight and fight, and then we get you this little bitty check here, you're going to be happy because they fought so hard for you, not even knowing that they pretty much have decided kind of what they were going to give you months ago,
Mm-hmm.
and they know it's going to be basically this. They already know what the final bill is going to be. I have no doubt in my mind. If somebody could show me that they were sitting down really trying to figure this out, then you know what? I will recant what. But
But
oh man, you can hear me.
man, you can.
Yeah, sure.
But what they're doing is they're just sitting back, they're waiting, they're going to play all these other games, they're going to work on all these other strategies for whatever other things. Because you got to remember, when they put out these a bill like this, you got to remember they're still passing other stuff the whole time. So if they're passing other stuff the whole time, then that shows you they have to be working on other stuff the whole time. So they can't be very much working on getting you the money and working on all these other things. So right there, you already know they're not doing what they say they're doing. They're just going to wait and wait and wait. And then boom, they're going to give you the agreed amount that they said they were going to agree on. And then you're going to thank them. And then you're going to forget about, and they play this game over and over and over and over. And the thing is, nobody catches on. And a big reason why they don't catch on is because most of them want to go right back to brunch, and that's what they're already doing under the Biden administration. Go ahead, man.
Did you see some of them? You should have seen some of these tweets, man. Some of them are like, I don't know who the They're like, I don't know who the Secretary of State is now. I don't know who that person is. And I sleep so much better not knowing that. I'm like, it's like what Carlin was saying, like, maybe it's not the politicians, maybe it's the public, right? Maybe
It is the public.
It's the public.
It's the public because they won't wake up to what's going on. They won't challenge their leaders. They won't question. I look at somebody like a Joe Manchin, for instance. How in the world how are you in the third, poorest area in the country and you're still in office? How have they not gotten rid of you on that alone? That you're not bringing no contracts. I mean, they all throw pork in there, but you're not throwing pork in there to help your people. You're not getting jobs there. You're not getting corporations to come there. You're not doing anything. You're just sitting there. And the fact that so many people accept the fact that their politicians literally sit in office and not getting them a damn thing is why they're still in the situation they're in. Kelly says here, what is it, around $8 trillion going to the bank, Wall Street, and the rich since March? That's not even the tip of the iceberg. What most people don't know about is after the last recession, some of the stuff that they put into legislation was that certain committees could just approve money to be put directly into the stock market. And so the stock market, if they didn't have those rules, we would have already had a crash worse than we had when Bush was in power. But since they've been able to put trillions of dollars into the overnight markets, that's money that's not even factored in to these different bills and packages. So I would say, I mean, we're literally in funny money territory right now. I mean, we could be anywhere from, I would say, 15 trillion to 30 trillion or more.
And I remember hearing, I think it was a couple of, it was like 2 or 3 months after I was being, like after March or whatever. And someone was literally reporting the fact that they're literally shoving money into the stock market to stop it from crashing, and like whatever amount they're shoveling in, it's just burnt, it's like nothing. They're like burning it. And the fact that even now, it's just nobody even really talks about it anymore. It's just that's the attention span of the American public now. I mean, it's just, maybe it'll show up in like a big omnibus about the coronavirus, or a book about the 2020 election or something like that. But it's just like once he got elected, it's just like everybody's brain turned off, and they're like, I can go to brunch now, I can sleep now. I don't need to know. I don't know need to know who the Secretary of Education is, even though people are saying that he's a bad, he's an awful person too. Just cut from a different cloth. I'm just like, it's always the enemy you'll accept. That's always the most frightening one of all, right? It's not the evil. It's not the evil you'll fight against. It's the evil you'll accept. That's really the frightening part of like the whole story. But yeah, I'm seeing a lot of it. Like they really don't, like the majority of them who back Biden or whatever. They're just happy to close their eyes and lean back and just have a grand old time. They're good. They're totally good. So
Like we used to say all the time in the boxing world, it's the punch you don't see coming that hurts you. It's not the one you see coming. You got to take that, roll the shoulder, and kind of stumble back from it. When you don't see that punch, that's the one that puts you on your ass. And I feel like it's the same thing that happened under Obama. Everybody went back to sleep. We didn't pay attention to I mean, I won't say we, but many didn't pay attention to the escalation in the Middle East and all the different other countries we start going into and invading in the name of fighting terrorism. Um, all that got missed. All the droning going up, and there were so many issues that got missed where I was out there feeling like screaming at the walls, screaming at the ceiling, shaking my fist. And, no matter how much organizing or activism I was doing or trying to reach out to people, I didn't feel like I was seeing anybody that was really trying to push for some of those things, or bring attention to it. Well, I'll say back in those days, TYT was, I don't know, like night and day from what they are now. And so they were, they were somebody who was kind of keeping a lot of people informed in that way. But I felt like all of the old trusted, reliable sources, whether it was TYT or whether it was Tom Hartman I used to listen to, or a lot of the people on Air America, it just seemed like kind of how they talked about the boutique left. It's like now you realize, now you can look back and see there was always a big difference. Yeah, they would speak economics with us, but economics was never really something that they cared wholeheartedly about, or populism. It just kind of sounded good. And more of these people were more content with ceremonial gestures. First female this, first black that, for stuff that's, pulling down statues, but they don't really care about actually fighting for minimum wage. Or you get what I'm saying? It's all of these kind of, ceremonial, intangible wins versus actual economic justice.
and I'm glad you brought up the minimum wage for a perfect example, because they were there was like this big push to desperately try to get it to be like 15 now, and basically everyone came together to essentially that kill that portion of the bill. I mean, I would to nuke it out of existence is to put it mildly. Jay pretty much said, we're doing it in 5 years, and you've got people saying you were fighting for 15, 10, 11 years ago. So by the time you actually do get it, 15 will still not be enough. So it's all about the devil you can accept, right? It's all about kicking the can down the road and just not thinking. Don't think too hard about it. It's okay. You got this or whatever. And they're like, oh, Biden will save us. Biden will give us more, right? He's just not going to leave us with this amount and not do anything. I said, that's probably exactly what he's going to do. He may stretch it out. He may kick the can down the road. He may give you a little incentive here or there, give you a little tax break here and there, but nothing, he was right when he said nothing's fundamentally changing. The game is the game, it's the game, right?
Well, now that I think about it, it's almost kind of like democratic politics can be compared to, um, I would guess, the Christianity in churches. Oh, don't worry about, getting anything now. You'll get it when you die. And I mean, it's kind of like the Democratic Party is like, well, you won't get to see it, but you know what? We'll get closer to it, and your great great grandkids, they're gonna be able to have it. You just gotta struggle and fight through it. But eventually, even if it takes 50 to 100 years, we're gonna eventually take care, and we're gonna get to what you're talking about. But we just gotta slow it down. Ooh, it's too fast, too fast. And that's what I feel like they're like. I mean, it's like, okay, so what, things are gonna get better when we die, or what, we're gonna regenerate, and then when we come back a couple of generations later on, then we finally get to reap the benefits of all that fighting from the Democratic Party. What's your thoughts?
No, I totally agree with you. I think it was like a week ago, a couple of weeks ago. Everybody was like, you know, we can see real substantive change in AOC's time 30 years from now, and I'm like, so we have to wait until AOC's like 60 before we're going to see real change. Is that what you're essentially saying? And I'm just like, what was that? I didn't see that. Bring that let's at least real feminists can be proud of the lady slept away one heartbeat away from. What I suspect happening with well, I'm not gonna bring this. Well, we know who you're talking about, Kelly, but signing another bunch of new Pacific trade. Yeah, because of course he hasn't re-signed the Iraq nuclear deal. He hasn't. There's a bunch of things that Trump did that Biden's just pretty much saying, and it's cool. I'm not gonna move it. It's fine, whatever. So Kelly, I definitely believe that, but that other part where you said she kind of where you were alluding to the person, I expect very soon that the level of censorship we saw in regards to Hunter Biden and the rest of them, that will go to that lady as well, and especially during her election season, we definitely will see that. I don't know what that 5.4 deal is that Hunter Biden got recently, but it's not really getting any news play, so it's probably pretty important. So it's always
Just,
the
oh
it's
no, what
always
you
the
say?
stuff I'm not paying attention to. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just realized the time. I gotta make sure to go. I guess I gotta end it. Now I can't go as much as I want to. Actually, you know what? Put in the chat, Kelly and Signs, if you guys are up. I know Emmanuel might have to go, but I might come back and just hop on and just chat it out with you all. If you still plan on being up for a while, I might just run another live. But if not, I'll go and relax, do some researching. So let me know if you all be up for me to do another stream when I get back to the house, or if not, oh, I forgot. I guess while you guys give me that info or let me know, I have an announcement to make for the show. Important announcement. I know we've talked about it multiple times between me and Chris. I don't know if we've talked about it on there yet. I think we have. I know Emmanuel knows. We floated the idea around, but we will be officially moving over to Rockfin. We will still be trying to put some of our. We will still be, I guess, broadcasting onto YouTube also. Once I figure out the dual stream kind of thing, whatever, I'll talk to Franco. He kind of knows how that works. But we're gonna do that, and so if for whatever reason they decide to take down the stream, we'll still have it up on Rockfin. Please come over to Rockfin. I will. I guess once I get one of them on, I will have all three of my channels on there. Sorry about the silence, but I will have all three of the channels: the Political Matrix, What We've Been Thinking with Marcus Cage, myself, and Hebrew Apologetics with Marcus Cage. And so that is coming very, very soon. I hope that you will come all over there. I believe you just have to pay like $5 or something like that a month. Um, and you will get not only my content, you'll get Nico House. I know Jordan Sheridan's over there. You will get let's see what Frank Analysis. Let's see Graham Elwood. I know is over there, and a bunch more. Apologies for any names I can't remember right now, but I know a lot of our big time truth tellers and people not afraid to go against the grain are already going over there. Some are already there. But yes, I will be joining the party over there, and hopefully I get to. Hopefully you get to see me on some of the other or see us on some of the other channels. Or I definitely put out the invitation for any of them to come over to our platform. When we go over to Rockfin, some of those episodes where we're going to get a little deeper into things, those will not be on YouTube, because we're already. I mean, I feel like I'm already being careful most of the time when I'm on here, and for them to already start, even with me being careful, feel like that's something to worry about, then I know some of the other content that I would like to do is not going to be, okay. And so I'm not going to be okay with YouTube. So I'm not even going to put that content on. It's going to go straight to Rockfin, and hopefully you all will join us over there. And then if we get to a point where we have everybody over there, we might completely go away from YouTube altogether. Um, since my other channel is very new, I don't even think I have any subscribers to it because I had to recreate the channel. Phone issues. I just got a new phone, but I had to recreate the channel. So I hopefully you all will come over to the new channel. After I release a video for it, my next video for it, I will tag that in the Twitter handle. It's at What Cage, and you'll find my Twitter page for that channel. Yeah, once I get over there, I'm pretty sure that channel is going to completely go over to Rockfin, because I don't even want to mess around with. I just want to be able to speak truth, and if I'm speaking the Bible, I don't really care what YouTube, what they want me to say, and I'm not going to play that game. With some of this other stuff, I can censor myself to a degree, but the Bible is the Bible, and I'm not going to play that game. Let's see. Censorship, yes, fleece book for the sheep only. Yeah, I mean, and I've noticed Facebook's gotten that way with religion also. I mean, these people are so drunk with the Christian church. Um, I think the only way you need to migrate away from YouTube. Yeah, I'll put that up
Yeah.
on the screen real quick before we get out of here. But Kelly says,
Yeah,
yeah, man,
right.
I
I
think
think
we all need to migrate.
we all need to migrate from YouTube. I
And I
agree.
think they I don't know if that's what their intention is, or if they just want us to play by their little rules. But if they actually want us to be, I mean, we'll see how it works out. But yeah, I mean, me and Chris have talked about setting up our own setting up a website also, and that way we'll just be able to put up the stuff on our own website. And if YouTube's not cool with it and Rockfin has a problem with it also at that point, then we'll also still have a website. So we'll be able to have all the videos there. That said, you have anything before we get out of here, Manuel?
No, I'm good, man. You're good.
Okay. This has been the Political Matrix. I'm your host, Young Morpheus, and my good friend and co-host, Mr. Blue Maverick, Emmanuel. And you all have a great weekend. Thank you for joining us, and especially keeping the chat fun and lively, Kelly and Science. I'll catch
Yeah.
you all next time around. Oh yeah, no show for What We've Been Thinking tomorrow, of course, Super Bowl. But keep an eye out for some content that I have coming on my Hebrew apologetics page. I will be reading. I'll be going through chapter by chapter, reading the book. Was it Babylon to Timbuktu by Adolf Windsor, and this book tracks the migration of the Israelites after 70 AD, and then migrate places like that. So I'm going to read that. It's going to be a reading of that book. I'll break it into different shorter videos. I got some crazy flipped out Christians that I'm going to show also for laughs and giggles, and then talk about also. Yeah, you got to see. I have these two guys who are like screaming at each other at the top of their lungs, faces beat red. It's gonna be hilarious. So please, check out the new channel. Let's see. Sign says, Marcus, can you come up with biblical names for all the co-conspirators / officials running stuff and have stories matching up? Would be great code naming. You know what? I can do that. You know what? I'm gonna grab my phone right now. Where's my phone at? And I will snapshot that picture. I will snapshot so I will remember because I can be forgetful at times. Camera, and I'll just screenshot the screen. Oh yeah, my new phone. By the way, I don't know if you see that. Fancy, but all right, yeah, I'm gonna get on out of here. Gotta go, everyone. But yes, I will have that. I'll have that list out. I'll get in touch with you, Signs, and then make sure you get that over to Kelly. And I'm pretty sure. Well, I'll send it out to Variant and a couple of you guys who I know who are following me on Twitter also, or just DM me and remind me also. Yes, Kelly. We're gonna end on that note. That is a perfect note to end on. Go Chiefs. F Tom Brady for life. F Tom Brady. Y'all have a good one. Make sure you're watching the game and cheering as hard as I am.